The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. It's a wonderful line. For his name's sake, in the paths of righteousness. What does that mean? Well, the path of righteousness is the right path. The right path as opposed to the wrong path, the El Sirat of the Fatiha, which is the opening surah of the Quran. These are all the same, the right path, the righteous path, the straight path. The straight path and the right path is simply the path laid down for human beings by nature. It is our niche or our place in the planetary ecosystem. It is the journey through deep time that we've been on from a very, very remote and distant past to a potentially very, very distant and remote future. Human beings have walked on foot down through the millennia, down through the eras and the epochs, the kalpas, down through deep time to the present moment, and can conceivably continue to walk forward for millions of years more. That is the right path. The right path is simply the path that turns to nature, the path to follow nature and return to nature, and the mind to follow such a path. And so we ask ourselves in our day-to-day life, what is a mind to follow nature? What is the right path here? Can we really even be off of that path? Can we take a step off of it? And the answer is no, we really can't even depart from it. Everything we are, everything we do, everything we think, everything we make, all comes from nature and returns to nature. But we can be at war with that reality and that knowledge. And the degree to which we are, we suffer, and the earth suffers. We suffer, and the earth suffers, even though we are one. We suffer because we are one with the earth, and the earth suffers because we are one with it. If we really were separate, then we could go our separate ways and let bygones be bygones. We could get caught up in the rapture and go to heaven or the Pure Land or wherever and leave the earth to itself, and we could go off on our own and find a separate reality or another reality, but that's not going to happen. It's never meant to happen. So, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. His name's sake simply means for the sake of the greater good, for the sake of the planet, for the sake of nature. It's not a human agenda. Humans participate in it, are one with it, but do not determine where it came from or where it ultimately goes. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. The valley of the shadow of death in the original Hebrew, I think, just means a very gloomy place, a place of darkness, or a defile. We're talking about an area of the world where it was relatively flat or sometimes hilly, but which had deep gullies that you would sometimes have to pass through. A dark place where there might be animals lurking or perhaps enemies. We are passing now as a species through a dark place, a place made dark by our own ignorance, by our own selfishness, and by our own idea that the world has been made for us rather than us for it. But this dark place, in this dark place, even so, we need not fear evil. We need not fear evil. What is evil? Where does the idea of evil come from? How do we define evil? The answer to all these questions is the self. The self is what decides what is evil and what is not. In the absence of a self, there is no evil. There is no evil in nature. It isn't evil that the lion eats the gazelle or that the gazelle eats the grass. Nothing in the vast seamless working of the ecosystem that maintains the life of the planet and has maintained it for endless epochs and could and may continue to sustain it for endless epochs more. Nothing in this is evil. It is complete. But the moment we establish ourselves at the center, the moment we eat from that fruit at the center of the garden, suddenly things become good or evil, because they become good or evil for us. They become good for us, they become bad for us, and the notion of evil is born. And so when we say in the psalm, I shall fear no evil, what that means is that we surrender to the greater design and the greater care of God, and that there is nothing that should or shouldn't happen to us, but only what does happen, and all is in the hands of God. The degree to which we relax into that and can embrace that is the degree to which we can attune ourselves to what is real and what is true, the degree to which we can turn to face God and be intimate with God and one with God, and need have no fear that any evil or ill will befall us, because evil or ill can only sneak up on us. Okay, it can only ambush us. If we turn to face that which is, nothing can harm us, because all is love. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. We just explained that. The moment we turn to face God, we realize that God is with us. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. The rod and the staff are interesting. The rod is actually a kind of a club that these shepherds would carry to defend the flock. So the rod is actually almost like a kind of a club, and the staff is the shepherd's crook that he will use to guide the sheep, and sometimes to pull a sheep out of a gully if it falls into a hole, and pull it up with the staff. So these are symbols, you might almost say, of authority. Okay, the shepherd's authority and power and control. But if we offer the psalm a green reading, we understand that these are the limits of the planetary ecosystem. Now we are now running up against those limits in a very, very serious way with climate change. And we can fear that. In other words, we can find the limits, the natural limits on the elasticity of the human population on planet Earth right now, and we can run up against those limits, and we can recoil from them in fear, or we can realize that we have run up against the rod and the staff, and we can allow ourselves to be comforted by them. Right now, the planet is putting up a hand to us and saying, this is the limit beyond which you may not pass. To do so is to invite your own harm, the harm of many other species. This is, we can see it as a hand coming down hard on us to mash us or to destroy us, but the truth is it is merely a limit. It is a comforting limit, a limit that guides us, a limit that tells us when we have reached the point beyond which we dare not step. And from that point we step back. We decrease our numbers and our needs upon the planet and begin to take a different path. We begin to rechart our path through time, from deep time to deep time. The path that we're on at present leads off that path, going who knows where. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me.